Welcome to Chapter 8. How can they escape? Moonface looked all round the room at the top of the tower. Well, we're in a nice fix now, he said gloomily. It's no use going down the stairs again. We shall find the door at the bottom locked. And what's the good of a window that is half a mile from the ground? Joe looked out of the window. Gosh, he said, the tower is so tall, I can hardly see the bottom of it. Hello, there's the enchanter going off in his carriage. I suppose he's going to fetch his friend, dear wizard. I don't like the sound of that wizard, said Silky. Joe, Rick, Moonface, please, think of some way to escape. But there really wasn't any. No one wanted to jump out of the window. They all sat down. I'm very hungry, said Beth. Has anyone got anything to eat? I may have some pop cakes, said Moonface, feeling in his pockets. But he hadn't. Feel in your pockets, then. They all felt inside their pockets, hoping to find a bit of toffee or chocolate. Rick brought out a collection of string, bits of paper, a pencil, a few marbles. Joe had much the same kind of things, but with his bits came a pink jar, very small and heavy. What's in that jar? Asked Beth, who hadn't seen it before. Isn't it pretty? Let me see. What can it be? Wondered Joe, as he unscrewed the lid. Oh, I know. We saw a witch selling whiz-away ointment for broomsticks in the land of spells, and I thought it would be fun to rub some on Mother's broomstick and see if it could fly through the air. So we bought some. Smell it. It's delicious. Everyone smelt it. Moonface suddenly got very excited. I say, he began. I say, oh, I say. Well, say then, said Joe. What's the matter? Oh, I say, said Moonface, stammering all the more. Listen, if only we could get a broomstick, we could rub this pink ointment on it and fly away on it. Moonface, that's a very good idea. If only we had a broomstick. But we haven't, said Joe. Look at this room. A table and a bench. No sign of a broomstick at all. Well, I'll run down the stairs and see if I can possibly get a broomstick, said Moonface, getting all excited. I saw some standing in a corner of that room we were in. I'll do my best anyway. Good old Moonface, said everyone, as they watched the round-faced little man scurry down the hundreds of steps. If only he gets a broomstick. Moonface hurried down and down. It seemed such a long way. At last he came to the bottom of the stairs. An enormous wooden door was at the bottom, shut tight. Moonface tried to open it, but he couldn't. So he banged on the door loudly. A surprised voice called out, Hey there, what are you banging on the door for? What do you want? A broomstick, said Moonface loudly. A broomstick, said the voice, more astonished than ever. Whatever for? To sweep up some crumbs, said Moonface, quite untruthfully. A dustpan and brush will do for that, cried the voice, and the door opened a little crack. A dustpan and brush shot in with a clatter and came to rest by Moonface's feet. Then the door shut with a big bang and it was bolted on the other side. A dustpan and brush, said Moonface in disgust. Now who can ride away on those? He banged on the door again. Now what's the matter? Yelled the voice angrily. These won't do, said Moonface. I want a broomstick. Well, go on wanting, said the voice. You won't get one. I suppose you think you'll fly away on one if I give it to you. I'm not quite as silly as that. What do you suppose the enchanter would say to me when he came back and I'd given you one of his broomsticks to escape on?" Moonface groaned. He knew it was no good asking again. He picked up the dustpan and brush and climbed up the stairs slowly, suddenly feeling very tired. Everyone was waiting for him. "Did you get it, Moonface?" they cried. But when they saw Moonface's gloomy face and the dustpan and brush in his hand, they were very disappointed. They all sat down to think. Joe looked up. "Would it be any good to rub the whiz-away ointment onto anything else?" he asked. "Would it make anything but the broomsticks fly?" "I shouldn't think so," said Moonface, "but we could try." "Where is that to try on, though? We haven't a stick of any sort." "No, but there's a table over there and this bench," said Joe quite excitedly. "Couldn't we try it on those? We could easily sit on them and fly off, if only the magic would work." "But it won't," said Silky. "I'm sure of that. It's only 4 broomsticks. But let's try it, Joe." Joe took off the lid of the jar again. He dabbed a finger into the pink ointment and rubbed some of it all over the top of the wooden bench, which was very like the ones at school. "Now for the table," said Joe. He turned it upside down, thinking that it would be more comfortable to sit on that way, and they could hold on to the legs as they went. He rubbed the ointment all over the underside of the table. As he was doing this, everyone heard the sound of horses' hooves clip-cloppeting outside. Silky ran to the window. "It's the enchanter come back, and he's got the wizard with him," she cried. "Oh, Joe, be quick. They'll be up here in a minute." "Moonface, Silky and Saucepan, you sit on the bench," said Joe. "You girls and Rick and I will sit on the table. Hurry up." Everyone scrambled to take their seats. Silky was trembling with excitement. She could hear the footsteps of the enchanter and the wizard coming up the stairs. "Now, hold tight in case we really do go off. Ready, everyone? Then whiz away home." And wow! The bench and the table began to move, because they were not used to whizzing away. But it moved slowly at first, and then the bench and the table began to move, and then they whizzed around. But as the children squealed and squealed in surprise, the table rose suddenly to the window and tried to get out. "It's stuck! It can't get through! Oh, table, do your best," cried Joe. "The enchanter's nearly here." The table tipped itself a little, and then it could just manage to squeeze through the opening. The children each clung tightly onto a leg, afraid of being tipped off. Then at last the table was through the window and sailing away upside down, its 4 legs in the air, carrying the excited children safely. It whizzed off over the land of spells. Joe looked back to see if the wooden bench was coming too. It had waited until the table was through the window, and just as it was about to jerk towards the window, the enchanter and the wizard had come rushing into the room. What would have happened to them if old Saucepan Man hadn't suddenly thrown a kettle at them? Goodness knows. It was the kettle with Mr. Changeabout in. The lid came off, and Mr. Changeabout jumped about and turned himself into a giant. The enchanter fell over him, and Mr. Changeabout, not seeing who it was, began to shake fists, crying, "I'll teach you to put me in a kettle." The wizard grabbed Mr. Changeabout, not knowing who he was or where he had suddenly sprung from, and there a marvellous quarrel was going on, just as the wooden bench flew out of the window. Oh, the enchanter saw it going and tried to get hold of it, but just at that moment Mr. Changeabout put out his foot and tripped him over. "Go for it, Mr. Changeabout," yelled Moonface. "Hold him back!" And out of the window sailed the bench, with Moonface, Silky and Saucepan clinging tightly onto it. Far away in the distance was the upside-down table. The table whizzed steadily outwards and onwards, over hills and woods, and once over the sea. We've come to a very long way home since we've been in the land of spells, said Joe. I hope the table knows its way home. I don't want to land in any more strange places. The table knew its way all right. Joe gave a shout as it flew over a dark wood. The enchanted wood, he cried. We're nearly home. The table flew down to the garden of the children's home. Their mother was there, hanging out some clothes. She looked round in wonder when she saw them arrive on a flying table. Well, really, she said, whatever next? Do you usually fly around the countryside on an upside-down table? Oh, Mother, we've had such an adventure, said Joe, scrambling off. He looked up in the air to see if the bench was following, but there was no sign of it. Where's the bench? Said Rick. I suppose it will go to the Faraway Tree, as that is where the others live. Gosh, I feel all trembly, Joe. I'm not going into any more lands at the top of the Faraway Tree again. It's been just too much excitement. Right, said Joe. I feel the same. No more adventures for me. I hope you enjoyed that chapter. The next one is the land of dreams, so I think they do have more adventures. If you'd like to draw me a picture of an invented land, maybe you could make one up for me and post it in the messages. Oh, that would be absolutely fantastic. I've already got quite a few pictures that I'm going to post up as well from children who sent them to me. So thank you. See you tomorrow.